forward healthcare. So we haven't seen you guys in a few weeks. Hopefully you have been fantastic, but today we have a special treat. This hopefully is all about Tracey's journey. We're going to dig a little bit into this renewed health that Tracey has and how we did it and some of those things that we don't like to talk about, but we're going to talk about them today. So
yeah, the uncomfortable health questions, right, Nitra?
Yes, I have a list. I have a little note. I have my trusty note. Everyone, I have a trusty note. All right. So, and don't worry, Tracey's super comfortable, super open book. So we're going to try to dig in a little bit and really get down to things that help us, things that hurt us, and how Tracey has experienced some of those things throughout her health journey with me. But before we get started with those questions, just a little bit of an intro. Tracey and I have known each other for a very long time. But when Tracey and I started this journey together, I just noticed that, Tracey just didn't seem like herself. Tracey's been a health advocate, someone who has been in health and fitness since teen years. So in most of her entire life. And so when I saw that there was just some things that seemed a little bit different, a little bit off, we started our journey together. I really said, hey, Tracey, I think we got to do something for you. You always do so much for other people. Let me help you with this one, because I think that you may have some concerns. And so our journey began. So I will throw it to Tracey just for her to share a little bit about kind of that starting point, and then we'll get into the questions.
Yeah, if you guys look back, and we will certainly be posting these pictures here after this broadcast, I started to not look like myself. There was like quiet factors like my eye color, darkness under my eyes, certain puffiness. I was really on the verge of a health crisis internally, even though I was doing everything that I normally would do externally. And let's talk about those intrinsic triggers, right? I had a hysterectomy in 2019. And then my body just started to just shift. I didn't understand what was going on. No matter what I did before I got to that point, it didn't have an effect. I ended up putting on about 12 pounds extra by the time Arnitra got to me. I was drinking a little bit excessively, if we have to be truthful, me and my Appleton rum. I was a little bit more stressed than I normally would be because I launched my business at that time and life was happening, right? And then I had this surgery and it catapulted my body in another direction. And I just did not understand what to do. I needed help. Like, coaches need coaches too, right? That's a real sentiment. And so I'm so grateful that Arnitra stepped in when she did. And that's when we started getting to the weeds of what was really going on. And so, Nitra.
Perfect. And so hopefully that makes sense, everyone, about what Tracey's saying. And we joke about the alcohol thing, and we're going to get into that maybe a few more minutes, but it can be pretty detrimental to many individuals and you just don't notice it. So we're going to jump right in because, as I said, Tracey is a health professional, but she was experiencing what I like to call a little bit of an emergency. And these are the things that creep up and you just see them happening, but you don't always know what to do, or they have become so commonplace that we think that as we age, these are just the things that come along with getting a little bit older. So I wanted to spell some of those things I wanted to spell some of those things in this interview today. So first things first, Tracey and I went over a little bit about what she was eating. And so I think it's important that you all know what she actually ate prior to us starting, because I think you're going to hear things and you're going to be surprised to figure out, well, I don't understand. How did this happen? Because this was somebody who did a lot of things on her own, cooked and everything. So I'm going to let Tracey tell you a little bit about what her routine was prior to.
So I would eat 3 meals, 2 snacks. I would drink 120 ounces of water per day. I had my normal coffee. I was exercising 60 minutes every day, 6 days a week, cardio and weights. And I was eating salads, fruits, veggies, the norm, like I normally did from being a professional competitor and health person all this time. For example, breakfast would be eggs, bread, the normal stuff, bacon. Lunch would be a sandwich or maybe a Chick-fil-A salad. And dinner would be range from whatever I cooked for my family, spaghetti, pizza, Taco Tuesday. It's not abnormal, right? Yet And these are all home cooked meals with these ingredients that are, I mean, we shop at Whole Foods and Publix and the farmers market, so I know what to put in the foods. And I was drinking a lot of shakes, the meal replacement shakes. Mm-hmm. Now, nutritionally, they're fine, but the combination just did not work for my body, and it put me in an even more state of inflammation, which is crazy. Like, I was like, when Nietzsche was like, Tracey, you guys know I drink my Beachbody Shake Shakeology for a very long time. I was, a part of that whole mantra. Even though the ingredients were good, they were not good for me. And so it put my body in a non-healthy state because I could not process that. Here's the crazy part. I was malnutritioned. Right. How? That yes. Blew my mind. When Nietzsche, and it was so cool how you pointed it out. You're like, yes, you're eating all these things. What's happening to you? Yeah, they're nutritionally valuable, but are they nutritionally valuable for you? Can your body even process it, Tracey? So let's dial it back and let's clean everything up and clean it out. And then let's start adding things back piece by piece. Watch how you change, watch what happens. And you have to just trust me and trust the process.
And I'm going to jump in on that, trust the process, because understand, you all heard us say Tracey's a fitness professional for a very long time. Tracey cooks all her own food. By all practical purposes, extremely healthy lifestyle. And it's important to note that what's healthy for one is not always healthy for the other. And that's why when I work with clients, it's so important that we discuss, how do you feel when you eat this? So we did a full kind of like diagram. Let's do a journal. Let's look at every single thing that you put in your mouth. I needed a little bit of time, a couple days, a week. Just journal it for me. Tell me what you're doing. And then I asked a lot of questions about, hey, how does that feel to you? Hey,
a lot of questions. a lot of questions,
right? And that's important because I have to listen. While I am the coach and I have all the information, I tell everybody, I cannot jump inside your body. You are going to know your body better than I ever can. I know what I see. I know what symptoms are, but it's a give and take. I have to understand, how do you feel? Because that's more of an indicator for many things than anything that any of us can ever say. If you don't feel good, right? It doesn't matter if I think that chickpeas are good for you. If they make you sick, then we have to move away. Right. And so that's the conversation. So we had to do a little bit of journaling to find out what was inflaming her. What was her routine? And first, you heard Tracey talk about alcohol. And so now I want to jump to that. I'm going to jump to that first. That's our point number one. Tracey and her husband, they're sports fanatics, football season, all those things. They love that. That's go to the bar, go to the games, have fun at your house with watching sports. So I want to let Tracey talk a little bit about, what does that look like for you? How did that manifest itself? What were some of those aha key moments for you about alcohol? Because I asked Tracey to trust me, right? And of course, since this was something she did, me saying, hey, Tracey, I think you might want to consider coming off this. It was a big conversation that we had. So I'm going to let Tracey tell you a little bit about, what did that look like?
Yeah, this was right after Thanksgiving leading up into Christmas. And so you guys know I'm from the Caribbean, I'm Jamaican. I mean, rum and the holidays kind of go hand in hand. Rum and everything kind of go hand in hand. But Nisha was like, Tracey, you have to stop the alcohol altogether. It's blocking a lot of the natural metabolic things that I need to see work to make sure that we're figuring this out. And so at that point, I realized it was a crutch. So now we're going to get into the mental stuff a little bit, right? I recognized it was a crutch. I turned to my husband and I said, listen, I got to get better. This is not going to work. We got to figure this out. And he was like, all right, I'm all in with you. Let's figure this out. And so it helps to have support. Right. And then I just went cold turkey. I was like, I'm not drinking. I'm just not drinking. And I wish to God that I had the pictures to like show as we're talking. But maybe we'll do that later. But your favorite picture of me, Nitra, the one with my winter coat. And that was maybe... Yeah, I think that was maybe 10 to 12 days after I stopped drinking. My whole skin and face and and how I felt, like my energy surged, and I was like, what the hell is happening here? All I did was stop drinking.
Mm-hmm.
And then as time went on, and my body got better and I got healthier, the desire to drink is almost like, I mean, at this point it's gone. Like if I drink now, it's because and it's like literally a shot, and yay, go Gators, because the Gators drive me crazy. And that's probably why I still drink. But, you know, I'll get a shot and I'll just keep it moving. And I actually said it to Nitra. I was like, I don't even want this. It doesn't even taste like, when I taste alcohol now, I'm like, like Martin used to do. I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it goes away. The need for it goes away because you feel good. Your appearance changed. You don't want to go back to what you were doing before, and you fixed a crutch. You address the trigger, right? And so my cat, I hope he doesn't knock everything down. That's why I'm looking down.
Hey,
we're live.
And secretly, Tracey's, I'm gonna tell everybody, secretly Tracey's standing on like a stool, so please don't fall off the stool. I'm telling it. She's on the stool. Please don't fall off the stool.
Everybody
and the cat
knows I'm short.
like, come on.
Not everybody can be 5'6", Nitra.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Okay.
Don't do it.
Yeah, you see, she would put me on Front Street with my.
Yeah, we had to.
Anyway, I'm not gonna fall. My balance, right? But anyway, back to the sector at hand. Yeah, the alcohol was a big deal, guys.
Yeah,
and it was a huge impact. I mean, Nitra, let's brag, like humble brag. I started at, was it 179.4, and I ended at
159. And that
y'all, I posted those pictures.
And
right, and while we said
ended,
start. Yeah, we ended the weight loss goal, but we did not end the health journey goal. And there is an inherent difference. I'm still going.
And so that's our point number one, right? Alcohol. The next one, I really want Tracey to talk a little bit about this because it comes up in our conversations on a regular basis. You know, as people come to us, it comes up in conversations with people who have consultations with me, young to old. This conversation about salt, because I think this was one of those two things. Number one, alcohol. Number two was her salt intake. Tracey, again, cooks all of her own meals. Tracey suffered from headaches tremendously, almost every day. We had headaches, cramping, a little bit of fatigue, maybe even a little bit of agitation, dare I say, at that time. And we really had to talk about, hey, Tracey, walk me through what you do. You prep, like, tell me a little bit more. And so now I said, hey, do you cook with salt? And Tracey was like, no, I don't use salt at all. And so I said, hey, I think that may be one of our issues. Let me explain it to you. Let me talk to you a little bit about it, right? So I'm gonna let Tracey share that, because that was probably a huge turning point. It
was massive. Listen, it was very hard. Nisha was like, put salt in your water. I was like, what? What do you mean? She's like, no, put salt in your water. So I did that. Then I started to gradually cook, seasoning and cooking more and more with salt. And here I am expected to swell up like a puffer fish, right? Because from my competitive days, we never cooked with salt. It was like Mrs. Dash, right? And I was like waiting for it. It actually went the other way. I got leaner and leaner, and my agitation went away. I suffer from migraines. I hadn't had a migraine headache since 2020, right? Till now, right? Recently, I felt one coming on, but that was triggered by stress, but I was able to stave it off. Before, it would just take me out. And I would get migraine headaches probably to once or twice a month before we made these changes. And I hadn't had one since December of 2020, so.
And I will tell you all, this was not an easy, okay, Tracey, just cook with salt. No, it wasn't like, okay, flip the switch tomorrow, she's doing it. It was like every day, every week in our status. Tracey, how are you doing with it? Did you add the salt? Tracey, are you cooking with salt? And so she gradually got better and better, right? Some of it's proof in the pudding, right? Tracey's a kind of girl, she wants to see it. So she saw it. She got a chance to see that she felt better.
I battled.
Yeah.
But here we are.
Yeah, she got a chance to see that it didn't work. Nisha might have known something, right? That's what that was. Man, this girl knows something. She really does. All right, good, simple. She like, oh, she trusted me. Great. So it was such a great thing to see her do it, because that helped us transition then into really digging into what else we could do. So now, number 3, we got to the protein shakes. Okay. Now, all these things are kind of happening all at once, but in a way that is manageable, because Tracey does have 2 young children. Tracey is married. Tracey does run a business. Tracey is still training, at the other gym at the time on Saturdays, plus her workouts. So she was really busy, and it needed to be in a way that was kind of chunks, manageable chunks, before we just totally, lose it. And so then we got to protein shakes, and understand, you heard Tracey say it, this was something she'd done for years. I knew this too. And understand that while she talked about the Shakeology, I love Shakeology. I think it tastes so great. But I personally, from 10 years ago, I cannot drink it. It actually makes me sick. There's something in it, and I know what it is, but it makes me feel very sick. Now, Tracey loved it, and it was almost like I had to pry them, right? I had to clutch it. It was like pry it away from her clutching hands. Like, Tracey, I need you to come off the protein shakes. I need you to just eat. Let me tell you why. Let me tell you what I think is happening to you, but I can't see it because you are drinking these. So I'm gonna let Tracey tell you a little bit about that.
Yeah, for 5 years, I think consistently I drank Shakeology, and it had great benefits. And I just couldn't understand why Nisha was like, I need you to stop that, because I didn't see a nutritional negative associated with it. I wasn't reacting to it. So I thought I wasn't, it wasn't anything that I could put my finger on that I was like, yeah, this is why I should give this up. Right. But what ended up happening is Nisha was like, listen, I need you to chew. I need you to actually bite into real food. And listen, as a fitness expert, I knew what that meant. Mastication triggers the hormones and the pheromones in your brains. And I get all that, the chemistry of digestion. I understood where she was going. But again, I had no markers to say this was a negative for me, but I was malnutritioned. So how could I assess a situation properly when I'm malnutrition? But I didn't know I was malnutrition. So by the time she pulled the shake from my arm, my clutching hands, because like we said, it was done in steps. It was not all at once, because we have real life to manage, right? By the time we got to that step and she took the shake from me, my body was firing normally, or somewhat normally by this point, because we phased it in. And so when she took the shake away, it was the last piece, and my body just went boom. It just fell right into alignment. I was eating. I was getting what I needed nutritionally that I thought the shake was providing, but it was not, because I could not absorb all of the nutrients, quote unquote, in the shake. And there was something in there triggering my inflammation, which was masked by the alcohol preceding that. So I didn't know. So by peeling away the layers and actually walking through this piece by piece, we were able to put together my health equation, which brings us to today. Now I'm in a program with my health journey. I'm in maintenance mode now. And it's kind of hard sometimes when Nitra's like, just eat. You know what to do. What she did was she gave me my guidelines. I have guidelines. I have, based on my fitness goal, what I want to look like, lean mass I want to maintain. There are certain health checkpoints I still have. She gives me guidelines on how much carbs, protein, fat, and calories to consume. And then I have known enough now, learned enough now about my body from this whole year of what to plug into those parameters to get the outcome. Now we can manipulate variables to get the outcome, because the health equation is set. So if I have a conference coming up and I want to be 6% less than I am now, I know what I need to do to manipulate, to put into my health equation to get that outcome. I don't have to guess anymore, because we spent the time together and we learned where I am at 45. I learned where I am post-hysterectomy. I learned where I am as a CEO and leader of a company and the stress associated with that. I've lost family and friends. I've learned how to manage stress, but that comes from being 100% committed and trusting someone, my nutrition coach, to guide me through those whole things. And that's why I can rock the retired hot girl shirt that I bought.
Still a hot girl, but she's still a hot girl. Doing it different.
Retired. Yeah. Y'all see it. Y'all remember it. Check the tapes. But
doing it different.
But that being said, I'm in a different space in my life. I am arguably, in my opinion, healthier than I ever have been, because I'm clicking on all 6, and I'm not having any more kids. I'm not, hopefully, having any more health surgeries. There's nothing to interrupt my health life. When before, coming out of my 20s, I got married. I knew I was going to have kids. Kids are an interruption to your health life. I went through a couple different health crises, surgery required. That interrupted my health life. So arguably in the last 15 years, I have really not had a chance to get back to what Tracey was at 28 when I hung up my heels, right? And so now I'm watching my body slowly go back to that. And it's amazing to watch. Now, am I gonna have this flat tummy like I did when I was 28? No, but I'm gonna come pretty damn close. Why? Because I had children, so my body is permanently altered, but I'm going to make it the best of where I am. And age is a number, and truly you can sit there and make excuses and say, I'm 45, I had babies, I don't want to move, and go do surgery or whatever your options are. And I'm not knocking that. But the message that our nature and I are really trying to articulate is that life is going to happen. If you want a good chance to punch back, then you need to be the best version of yourself so you can punch back, because it's possible. When I was in my health crisis, I say this: if it was not for the state of my health going in, I would not be here having this conversation with you at this very moment. I'm not being dramatic. I could have lost my life 3 times. And if it was not the state of my health going into those situations, I would not be standing here. So
here's what I will say too. You all just heard 2 very, very important pieces, and we're going to dive into those just a little bit. So you heard Tracey say, in that health journey, all of the things that actually took place. And then you heard her talk about clearly having children. And then you also heard maybe even her conversation about stress. So what is important to note is through our journey, the food, Tracey was, juicing. That's something I do like to incorporate into my clients, those who can handle it, those who like it. We do that, and it's the reason why we do it. But then also eating on a regular basis. And that looks different for everybody. It depends on the weight of the person, so many different factors, what foods you like, how much of it you need, all those things, what are your goals? And so we determine all that. But throughout this journey also, while Tracey says, I'm really in the maintenance phase, some things that we really had to look at are when we see those weeks where, let's say we're in the middle of trying to drop a few pounds, and then all of a sudden we see a week that pounds go up. We had to really look at what has happened in your life this week. Now, you all heard us say earlier, Tracey runs a company. She's in the middle of some very big things, and it's very stressful. And so we had to really look at, how does stress impact her body? How do we deal with it? How do we create almost a stress plan? How do we create a strategy to, kind of navigate around that? So I want Tracey to share just a little bit about that, because I think over the last few months, we've been able to really, dial it in, but we also see when we can't dial it in, and we see what happens and what we have to do after. So I want to let Tracey talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so in my high stress points, one of the things our nature taught me was monitor what's happening to you when you're very stressed. Are you sleeping? I didn't even realize that for me to function on all 6 cylinders, I need to sleep 6 to 7 hours, period. If it's less than that, I'm going to see my weight go up. I'm going to see the dark circles come. I'm going to be irritated. I'm going to be annoyed. All these different parameters of things started to check in, right? Then another thing I noticed was first my sleep was affected, then my brain cognizant was affected. I couldn't think through things. I would get brain fog, right? And then Nietzsche was like, listen, are you getting massages? Like, what? We have to find something to center you. And I'm sitting here like, Nietzsche, what the hell? I'm getting frustrated now because I'm like, I don't know what to center me. Like, if I knew, I would do it. She's like, breathe. We're going to get there. Trust me. And sure enough, I was like, fine, I'll just start with sleeping. And what I did was I shut it down. And it was hard at first because I have children, I have a schedule. And here's the thing, I'm a workaholic, confession. And so I would like have to cut off meeting times. And on this day, I'm not taking this meeting. So what I'm saying, it was a gradual thing. It was very overwhelming at first. But when I started sleeping 7 hours and I see my weight drop, I was more productive. My brain fired. I was not snapping at my family. I was not snapping at my friends. So those things matter to me. So I was like, all right, let me keep going. Then we did the massages. I started getting massages once a week pretty consistently. Whoo, huge drop again, right? So I had to invest in that. And then it was making sure that I ate correctly, because sometimes I wouldn't eat because I would be so caught up. And I'll be like, oh my God, okay, so I only missed a meal, I'm fine. You know, I'm already in maintenance mode. Negative, ma'am, negative ghostwriter. The minute that I stopped drinking my juice, and that was the big one, by the way, Nitra, you remember that? I stopped drinking my juice consistently, and my body started going, inflammation, irritability, fatigue, brain fog. And I was like, okay, I'm done. So then once I got in rhythm with sleeping correctly, my weekly massages, making sure I don't miss my meals, and drinking my juice, now we knew how to manage. So if I knew I had a big project coming up, I knew I had to buckle down right before. So I had a little bit of a buffer. And then make sure we have planned. Like I would call you, Nitra, when we talk in our weekly talks. I said, Nitra, this is what's coming. Help. What do we do? And you're like, all right, this is what we're going to do here, here, here. And for the next 3 weeks, we'll do this. And when you have a plan, sorry, I went out there for a second. When you have a plan, that itself takes stress off.
Absolutely. And I want to be clear for everybody who's listening. When you hear, Tracey say, she may have come off of something and we go back to it, or she had to go get massages. What that is about is that's what works for Tracey, because what we would also notice is when she would get very stressed, she would really get really puffy kind of through her stomach. And you all heard Tracey say she's had 2 hysterectomies and a surgery, right? We had a hysterectomy and a surgery. And so what we found is that when she got really, really stressed, that would show up. And we knew that's where she still carries a little bit of inflammation. And so it was important for us to keep working that area. We had to keep working it because there's some scar tissue. There's things that we were like, you know what, some things are going on. And whenever that stress comes, that's where it would go. And so but it took us a while to really notice that is exactly where it goes every single time. And so we do have to manage it. So while you hear us saying massages, maybe massages might not work for you. Maybe it's a walk, maybe it's a bike ride, maybe it's a bubble bath, whatever that might be for you. That's what you have to try to figure out. What are those mechanisms that we can pull down anything that's triggering an outward, right? An outward, something we can physically see. When it's triggering that, we want to stop that from happening. So we have to come up with a different plan. And for Tracey, that was the plan, right? And so now we're able to really manage it and deal with it. And something else I do want to say, you heard Tracey say, something's flying up on my desktop. Sorry. You heard Tracey say a little bit about, having children. So for those of you who heard that comment, let me make sure we're clear about what that means. If you don't think that having children puts stress or trauma to the body, you are mistaken. And Tracey's someone who's been on full go ever since having children. Just going, busy, 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 having having her children, having a C-section, keep going, competing, working, forming a company, having a surgery, going. Those things put a little bit of trauma on the body. And so you got to give it time to truly, truly recover. And I think that was something, a big deal. And you heard Tracey say, hey, maybe I'm not like I was when I was 28. And I think that's a really important comment, because sometimes we see the outward piece that we want, that you're chasing that body. But I'm gonna let Tracey tell you a little bit about that, because it's not the chase of the old body, because that can cause other type of issues in your head and put more pressure on you, and can actually halt results because you're busy worried about that old body versus worrying about this new body and what this body can do and how you can make this one be better than the other one. So I want to let Tracey sit down.
Yeah, if you look at one of my favorite go-tos is I love Angela Bassett because she lives this thing, right? You saw Angela after the Tina movie. That's when she changed, and she talks about that very openly, about continuing to exercise and eat right, and she wasn't doing that before she played that role. You wanted to Cicely Tyson, God rest her soul. Cicely Tyson lived a very healthy, fit life. She ate and worked out and did things. And Cicely Tyson was, I mean,
almost 100.
And look how she looked when she went out, right? I want to talk about Jennifer Lopez. A lot of people, J-Lo gets a bad rep for things, but people don't see behind the scenes. That girl puts in work. And you know what I mean? Like I'm sure she's a famous entertainer with access that we don't have, but that doesn't change the fact that she has to put in the work. You can tell the difference between a body that was surgically altered and a body that you work out in the gym. And I'm here to tell you, J-Lo may have had nips and tucks, but that lady works out. And we're trained to look at people, and you can tell that booty don't stay up unless you do the lunge, boo. Ain't no suction that's gonna sculpt.
Gonna make it look like that.
I'm here to tell you, because I'm working on keeping my butt off my hamstrings. So I know what that looks like and what that, how that translates. I'm being funny, but it's real. And I say that to say it is a commitment. It is a lifestyle. And what blew my mind was, Anitra, you said it. You're like, but your body, you've been doing this your whole life. You're going to be better at 45 than you are at 28. And I remember saying, sis, how? Did you see me at 20? And you're like, yeah, I did. And I'm like, there's no way. And as we gone through the process, and I do a bit of a humble brag. You guys will hear me say it on social media. I tease, hence my shirt. And my guy friends push back like, yeah, that's meant for people who just retired. No. At 45, I'm bringing all the star power, and y'all can validate that. I'm not just tooting my own horn, but I work for that star power. You understand? There's a reason why when I'm in the gym, the fellow 20-year-olds, the 20 to 30-year-olds that are around me, because that's who's in there. I'm always the oldest woman in the gym for the most part. And they're looking at me like, goals. Like, when I tell them I'm about to be 46, they're like, this is their face. What you mean? And I am better at 45 than I was at 28. My muscle tone holds because my body remembers. So I don't have to train as hard and do all those different things that are required to do when you're in your 20s, because you're building, right? In your 20s, you have youth to help you. In your 40s, you don't have youth to help you. All you have is memory from when you were in your youth, right? When you were working out then. And that's what I did not know I was capable of harnessing, because I was so focused on what I looked like and felt like at 28, instead of focusing on my reality of, you've had children, you're not the same. You've had the hysterectomy, you're not the same. You've had life stresses that you didn't have it when you were 28, you're not the same. So let's make your version of you better now. And at 45, I'm like, woo, I don't have to do all those sets that I did when I was 28. Okay, this works. And it's very rewarding because now I can chase my 8-year-old. I can sprint. When I was in Tallahassee, right? I said I did hill sprints in my parents' driveway. I had to thank God for those moments, because that is not normal. That is like, to be 45 years old and do sprints and you're not hurting, your back ain't hurting, your knees ain't hurting. The running joke in a Black alumni reunion that we did was the knee strength when we were playing, Luke and all those movies, we drop it, roll it, pop it. And I was like, but I can drop it, roll it, and pop it. And I did. And I wasn't struggling to get up because my knees are ready. Those are some of the winning moments that we have to focus on. Like, you're able to do these things at this age because you did it at that age already. And if you didn't do it at that age, you can still do it at this age. Mm-hmm. You just got to commit.
Yep. And the reason why we're sharing Tracey's story and, a little bit, kind of more in detail is Tracey and I really got a chance we were talking about this on Tuesday. And I was driving to Miami, and something that really comes up is that 40 to 50-year-old time frame. It's a really important time frame, and I'm gonna post about it later today. But this is when so much collides, and we're calling it the perfect storm. And you're gonna see me post it later today. This is that moment where maybe in your life, you are in the peak of your career. What do I mean by that? You've been grinding for a long time, and now you've got that VP role. Maybe you're a CEO. Maybe you are changing something about your career life because now you have the ability to, do that business that you've been wanting to do, go out on your own. That's number one. Those are still very stressful moments in your life that are a lot more than they were before. At that 40 to 50-year-old range, physically, your body is changing. That is metabolically, you are changing. That is a fact. That puts a lot of stress on you. Number three, many of you are either having, you have children who are grown or about to be done with college, going to college, graduating high school, plus you may still have little ones. It's still very stressful time in your life because it's still very familial. Lastly, this is the years that you're starting to take care of parents. Parents are getting much older. You're stepping in, you're going to doctor's appointments, you're calling on the phone, you're going to their house. And that is very stressful and maybe at times can be very sad. And you can be a little distraught because things can go wrong for them. So there's a lot of things colliding in the 40 to 50-year-old life that will never, ever happen again. This is the only time frame that you see all these things really collide at one time. And this is when your health can really take a toll and it can decline if you don't do something to pull yourself out of it. So we're sharing this Tracey's journey to show we had to pull out of something. And many of you watching are experiencing some of these things as well. So I would tell you, if you feel like you're experiencing this and you need to take hold of your life, got a couple different ways here. For myself, you all know I have The Wait Is Over, and it's really about taking hold of that roller coaster dieting, that yo-yo dieting, and really understand what that blueprint is for your life. And that's my 7-week program. It's starting January 10th. And then if you really feel like you want to ramp it up, this is when you talk to me about being one-on-one. And so you get me, right, 24/7 pretty much in your face. I'm with you, living it with you to get you where you need to be. So if that's you think about how you're going to do it. But this is a really important time in that 40 to 50-year-old time frame that you really can't take it for granted. And that's why Tracey is so openly sharing a lot of her story, as we're closer now to 50 than we are to 40. So this is that moment when you really got to take charge of your life. But I'll be posting a little bit more about it today, so be on the lookout. But that is what I'm going to leave you with. Anisha BTNC, and I'll let Tracey close us out.
Tracey Palfrey, Moving Forward Healthcare. You guys know we come with tools and resources. When we plug people, it's not because we're doing them a favor. They are truly solutions to what we're talking about. I would like to take a moment to highlight trainer God Joseph Lopez. And the reason why I'm highlighting Joseph is he really has a system and programs that is dedicated to our age group that works. I did a Fit Over 40 promo with him a while back, and that was in the midst of my journey with Nitra, and it works. And so we are coming to the table. If you want to really do this, you have access to do that. Joseph has online training. Our Nitra has online services. If you want to do a virtual plug-in, you have a nutrition coach, You have a certified, educated personal trainer in Joseph. And obviously you have me as a fitness advocate and supporter. Between the three of us and our network, if we're not the answer, I bet you for sure we have the answer. It's in our network. So if you don't want to work with us, that's great, but we have other ways to help you. Let us help you. We are here to serve. And on that note, we'll see y'all in 2 weeks. And our next topic is going to be something out of what we talked about today, because these questions that are flowing in, and I know a lot of you are already texting me. So send us what you want to hear. Send us what you want to be interested for us to talk about. And certainly when we see y'all in 2 weeks, look out for us on our different social media outlets, like Nitra said. And hey, you know what we do. Because Nitra, what we say?
It's all good until it's not. So make sure that you don't wait too long.
Yep.
See y'all in 2 weeks.